Jeff, yikes.
I'm sorry.
Wow, what the hell do you people want? Just go play Mystery Heroes. Like, if you want random heroes every match, Mystery Heroes is now available for you in the arcade. You're super awesome, and there is no meta.
Jeff, yikes.
I'm sorry.
Wow. You know, at Gold and Platinum, when we picked Winston and Diva, we weren't really playing dive. We were just kind of
picking them to pick it.
Yeah, like we're like, oh, I read on our competitive Overwatch, this is what everybody's playing. And like, look at us, we're so meta, and I'm sick of the meta. And it's like, you know, meanwhile, Winston's going this way and Diva's going this way, and there's no Discord orb on anybody, and it's like, that's not dive, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to argue with Jeff on that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel, guys. I am Stylosa. All right, what we're going to do in this video is take a look at interviews that Jeff conducted yesterday with Emong and Fran, two streamers who went to the Blizzard HQ, and Jeff spoke about competitive, role queue, Hero 30, new heroes, comics, loads of stuff we're going to go over in this video, so get ready. It's going to be beautiful.
So that's a weird thing. Every single meta we've ever had, eventually the players hate it.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple, isn't it, guys? There's one reason why we all hate metas. It doesn't matter what the meta is. It doesn't matter if it's the best meta we've ever seen in our entire life. It just comes down to playing the same thing for way too long, doesn't it? If the meta lasts for too long, players are going to complain. This is only natural. So it's a bit of a strange thing to say, to be honest. You've got to keep the game fresh. You've got to keep things rolling. And honestly, I think if that means devs have to come in and intervene to change the way the game is, balance changes and whatever to freshen things up, it's probably a good thing. And they've clearly done that as well with the changes that are on the PTR right now to try and get rid of goats. And Jeff does actually confirm that, which we will get onto a little bit later on in this video.
I can't really talk a lot about it, and I don't know timing yet.
Yeah.
There's dates that we were given that are sooner than later, but none of us believe the soon dates. Like when we hear the date, we're like, I don't think it's going to be ready yet. But yeah, we want to make more comics. And there's like really good reasons why the comics kind of went on hiatus. But I hope the end result is that the new comics are awesome. 6 takes us out a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
We have really fun prototypes. One hero, Hero 30, is very far along at this point.
Yay, because I remember you guys were still in like a testing phase for Hero 30.
It was prototype. The hero at this point, like the final model is done. That's always an exciting moment when it gets modeled. We have a character modeler named Hong on our team, and he showed the final model yesterday, and it was gorgeous. And we're like, oh, okay, this is really rad, and it feels like an Overwatch character. So it's progressing really well, and we're really pleased. So.
Yay, that's exciting.
Good news then, the final model for Hero 30 is done. This means it's pretty close to being launched. We should see this in the next few months, we hope. What this will be, we don't know. I think we kind of need a tank, don't we, guys? I think a lot of people have been asking for tanks, and rightfully so. There isn't really that much variety in, especially main tanks right now. We need a bit more, I think, in that regard. We don't need more DPS heroes, Blizzard, please. So, yeah, Hero 30 is nearly here. Also, as well, 6 new heroes being worked on, and I guess Hero 30 is inside that. And like Jeff says, that does take us through probably until next year, because if they only launch 3 a year, then yeah, I'd like to see more heroes a year, but hey, what can you do?
We're not super happy with competitive play. I think it's in a good stable point. It's one of the most played modes of Overwatch.
Okay.
The most people play quick play, but competitive play is played the most of Overwatch. If that makes sense from a statistics standpoint.
I get what you're saying.
As where they're spending their time. So competitive play is extremely important to our players. We think that there are some things that could be better about competitive play. We really don't like how black box skill rating is.
Okay.
Like there are reasons for why your skill rating goes up and down. That are very confusing, and we don't surface that to the player at all.
Okay.
Like all the player kind of knows is we won, my SR should go up, or we lost and my SR is going to go down. But they don't understand, like, why did my SR go up a lot or little? None of that makes sense to people. And we think that there's a way that we can make people understand that better.
This is funky then. This means they're looking at ways to give us more information at the end of a round. This means that we probably will get a bit more info on why maybe we gained more SR or why we lost more SR than we usually did in a certain game. This is good. I like this. Give us more stats, Jeff. Give us an in-game scoreboard. Give us all of that jazz. Let's go on. And not the one we've got at the moment, because medals don't matter, do they, ladies and gentlemen? Because remember, somebody always wins the gold medal, even if your team's playing terrible. There's a guy with the gold and he's playing on Junkrat and he's like, I've got gold DPS. It's like, whatever, mate, we've lost anyway. It doesn't matter. Anyway, moving on.
My favorite subject that always comes up is LFG, because every focus group that I've ever listened talk about LFG is like, love it. It was a great addition. It's really well designed. Blah, blah, blah. And then the proctor always asks, well, do you use it? And they're like, no, I don't use it. And like, well, why don't you use it? Well, I don't use it because I just want to get in a match really quick. If you listen to any player on Reddit or the forums, they'll tell you, I'd rather just make me wait longer, and if it's a better experience.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure a lot of high rating players are like that. They really want
well, they say that all the time.
Yeah.
They'll claim that, and then they don't do it when we leave it up to them.
Yeah.
Okay, let me be real. This is the problem with LFG, right? If you go into LFG, there isn't enough people using LFG to warrant wasting time trying to build a team. And when a team loses after being together in LFG, then they don't generally play together again. They'll just leave the game, try and find a new team, or go back into solo queue. Yes, this is about speed, but it's a bit deeper than just saying players are not using it. They're not using it because they're not really given a reason to use it. Now, think about this, right? We use the solo queue, quick play. Well, it's not quick play, but we use the auto queue, whatever you want to call it. We click the competitive button, we go into matchmaking, and we wait. Find a game, let's go. What needs to happen is that needs to address the preferred heroes you want to play and match you with people capable of building a team. In these interviews, I think I include it in this video. Maybe I'll do, maybe I don't, but there's links in the video description which take you through to this. But Jeff talks about that he quite likes the idea of 2 tanks, 2 supports, and then 2 flex maybe. They could be anything, right? Or that opens up a lot of opportunities, doesn't it, for what's going on with team comps and all of that stuff. But I still think, like, LFG, the reason why I don't use LFG personally, yes, is because it takes too long, which, yes, that's what Jeff just said. But it's because you don't have enough players to build something from. If the players are going to use the auto matchmaker over LFG, then that's a design problem. That's not really a player mentality problem. Something needs to happen to make you want to go into LFG. It isn't enough just to say, well, you might get people who will build a team together and actually communicate, because their players may not be good enough. The strats might not be there. All of the same issues can kind of still affect you that affect you in the normal queue, right? It is a complex issue, but I don't agree necessarily with what he said there.
Any changes, like major changes to competitive, are very far off. So I just want to set people's expectations.
Okay, thank you for answering
But it's something we care. We're not 100% satisfied with ranked. We want to make changes. We have big ideas, but those big ideas take big time.
Exactly.
Well, we don't like ranked right now. We've got big ideas. They take big time. I've been to PR School 101. Catch you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Super awesome questions, by the way.
Like, I don't think a lot of people doubt that our SRs are pretty accurate, that we're pretty good at saying, this is a gold player, this is a diamond player, this is a platinum player. So I think that's really good. I think one of the things that's a little bit disheartening about our competitive system is if we're good at assessing what your skill level is, which I think we are, there's not a lot of progression to it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a grandmaster level player or a master level player or a diamond player, you're probably not going to go up or down dramatically unless there's some change in your lifestyle. Like,
oh, yes. You know what this means, don't you, ladies and gentlemen? This means more rewards for playing competitive. This must be because they're working on a new way to reward players for certain things they do in comp. I hope this is. I really do. I really, really do. Because right now, it is kind of bland, isn't it? What actually are you playing for? Like, what am I playing for? I guess most of my games I'm playing in, like, High Master. That's kind of it, right? Maybe I'm striving to try and end the season on all my accounts in GM or something. I don't know. But if I was at GM, what am I striving for? To try and get top 500? There isn't really any kind of tangible thing there, is there? So I hope they're going to give us more competitive rewards.
And you hit on something that I think is one of the strongest things in favor of pursuing a role queue system, which is players do have a different MMR based on tank damage
Oh,
and healing. And there's a case like we try to get the matchmaking. I feel very confident in the matchmaking. What we're not always confident in is what player behavior is going to be. And sometimes we have a case where, let's say you're the world's best Widowmaker player and you play Widowmaker all the time.
Okay.
And you've literally never played Reinhardt before. Right now we have a single MMR for you.
Yeah.
And we match you on that. And then as soon as you switch to Reinhardt, which you've never played before, we're off on our estimation. And everybody in that match is going to have a horrible experience because of it. And I think if we could be more intelligent about knowing what player intention is, saying, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to play these heroes, and we go, oh, those are the heroes you're going to play? We actually have a better understanding of you on those heroes than those other heroes. The other benefit to a system like that excites me is a lot of times we have the reluctant tank or the reluctant healer, or even the shoot, I'll feel like I said, if my competitive team needs me to play Ana, I usually play tanks, but I will play Ana, and I'll be happy to do that. I don't know if I'm any good at Ana. Like, I love the world where my tanks, my damage, and my healers all want to be playing tank damage. Like, the guy playing Hanzo right now really wanted to play damage, and I know that he's the proper skill level. Like, he's not a Mercy main. He's actually at the same skill level that my Diva's at, that Hanzo's at.
Praise the Lord, ladies and gentlemen. This is something we've been asking for quite a while. In fact, if you look at some of our recent videos, we went into a bit of detail on this, but this is the idea of having an SR for the role that you play. But this depends on the game identifying what the roles are. So this is a very simple thing to explain. The highest I have ever got is with a tank. I've said this loads in videos. It was with Winston. It was during dive meta. I would literally jump on Zen over and over again while screaming Zen, Zen, Zen. This got me into top 500 for a few games, and then I fell out of it and never got there ever again, right? But the fact is, tanks, Reinhardt, Winston, Orisa, this is where I get the highest. This is because when I start getting into GM, I have issues with my DPS keeping up, right? So if I play tanks, I'm actually still okay. I'm still contributing. Problem is, if I play DPS, where is my DPS effectively? It's probably a push, maybe 3.7k. Maybe, right? At a push. It's not as good as my tanks. Where's my supports? Who knows? But then what about things like my projectile DPS compared to my hit scan DPS? You see, it's all different, right? But on a very basic level, the highest or the best I am at the game is with a main tank. So you don't really want me as a main tank player in a low GM game, if I'm like playing out of my mind, playing DPS, because I'm not as good. But there will be scenarios where I might have to play DPS because maybe we've got a lot of tanks in the team and things like that. That's not great. So it would be absolutely awesome if they gave us individual SR for our roles, and maybe that's a way of them introducing role queue, where it's not just this, I'm going to pick DPS and go in with my global SR, because my SR is, let's say, 4K, but if I'm on DPS, it's something like 3.5K. I can't go into a 4K game with that, but at the moment, the game puts you in the game anyway, right? In that level of game, that MMR of game, so it's still a high-rated game, but you're not good enough to play DPS at that level. So imagine if you had different ranks. This is basically what I think Jeff's getting at, and what I'd like to see as well is, let's say my DPS was like Master, my tank was GM, and let's say my support was Diamond, right? 3 different ranks, so if I play 3 different roles, if before I go into the game, I say I'm going to play support, it's going to queue me with Diamond players. It's not going to queue me with GM players because I'm not playing on my tank. That's what the game needs to do. Make it happen. And I will fly over to Irvine and give you a big kiss, Jeff.
Now that patch itself, was that patch designed to like take away a little bit from the goats that everybody's been upset with?
Yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that goats was part of the focus of that. Goats, for anybody who doesn't know what goats is, it usually refers to a 3 tank, 3 support composition. There's a little bit of variance in it, but it's mostly the same sort of composition, the same heroes. A lot of what we were looking at was we've always told ourselves Reaper should be a natural counter to a composition like that, and why isn't Reaper played, and how could you get a little bit more Reaper play in? as crazy as people think the Reaper change is, I think they should really get in and play with it and see that in a lot of cases, like we did a lot of play testing last week with it, and it's very counterable. Like there are a lot of counters to Reaper, and it takes a good Reaper player to kind of get going.
Okay, so Jeff basically saying, yep, that patch was designed to get rid of goats because we don't want goats in Season 2 of Overwatch League. Now, I'm putting words into his mouth. But what he is saying there is they were trying to reduce the power of tanks, aren't they? You reduce armor, tanks not as effective, DPS becomes more effective. So obviously tanks are going to take more damage, less tanks, more DPS, more dynamic game, and all of that stuff. But the funky thing here is he talks about Reaper. They think Reaper should be a counter to tank comps, and he isn't. So they've given him more lifesteal, and it still makes no difference because Reaper is still highly susceptible to taking absolutely tons of poke damage before he even gets into a fight. And when Reaper's in a fight, and like Emong actually said to him during the interview, when you use your cooldowns, you're basically screwed as Reaper. If you've used Wraith form, well, you're dead. You know, it's like you said, it's like May, you use Ice Block, well, what have you got? You've got Wall. If you don't use your Wall, then you're dead. So Reaper's biggest issue is getting into the fight. Now, again, this might be different at different levels of the game. I think at the really low levels, Reaper probably can just kill everybody because it's going to be hard to stop him. People might not be able to actually do damage to him. But I think once you get to like Plat, surely, like probably even Gold, to be honest, high Gold, Plat, you're just going to kill a Reaper, right? He'd be effective in some comps, but I still think he's going to be in a very difficult place, even with these buffs.
There's what we want guilds to be and what guilds ends up being.
Yeah.
Like, so guilds is a very desired feature for us. We don't have any timeline on it. It's one of the most complicated features there is for us to implement. And more of what my comment was intended to say at BlizzCon, and maybe it didn't come across this way, is that I believe you know, there can be a perfectly respectable guild or clan system for Overwatch that's just contained in Overwatch, but I think there's a higher level vision of like how cool would it be if, you know, my WoW guild could play in Overwatch, or my Diablo clan could play in Overwatch.
That would kind of be like the end goal. Like,
yeah, like I think there's a larger social system. Like we've done that with the friends list, if you think about it, where if like when Overwatch was a new game and came out in 2016, and you had played
Jeff, yikes.
I'm sorry.
Wow, that like somebody said my name.
That was really loud.
That was awesome. I was like, is that Molly whispering in my ear telling me I said too much? That was awesome.
The timing on that. Sorry.
But we did it with the friends list. So like previous, you know, if you go way back to the early like World of Warcraft days, WoW just had its own friend list.
Yes.
And then if a new game came out, like your friends didn't transfer over. And I think it was StarCraft 2 was the first game where
That embedded all that.
Yeah, like so when any Blizzard game came out, whether it was Diablo 3 or StarCraft 2 or Overwatch, you suddenly got all your friends and you weren't like re-adding everybody and like, well, what's your name in this game?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that'd be a dream for a guild. So like it's very hard to do. I don't know if we will end up doing it. It involves literally every other game team at Blizzard thinking that's a good idea and rewriting their tech to work that way along with Battle.net itself.
Right.
So that's why it's really complicated. We think a feature like guilds would be amazing.
I love you, Jeff.
But the scope of the work goes beyond, I think, what it seems like a simple system. Like I can see people like, well, you just need green chat and /G and it just works, right? And it's more complicated than that. So I don't know. We'd love to get to something like that. We have a lot of really big ideas that I've never heard anybody talk about as it relates to a feature like that we would love to pursue someday. But I would say something like that is on the far horizon.
Okay.
And finally, guys, we get Jeff talking about guilds. I'm not going to go over what he's just said because you guys have just watched that, but it looks like we probably aren't going to get guilds how we kind of wanted them, or how high I wanted them, I guess, where we sort of had like a watch point base in Overwatch and we could build like a big group of players that maybe we've met in competitive. They add them to like a big sort of list, a big guild list, if you say, and then you could form groups based on your SR and all that good stuff. It looks like that's never going to happen, which is a major shame. Instead, it looks like what they want to do is homogenize the system and have this big Blizzard guild, which frankly I don't care about. to be honest. I don't care. People play, like, honestly, people playing World of Warcraft, StarCraft, whatever, it's cool, it's fine. You know, maybe there are people out there that play all of the different games all of the time. But for me personally, I want my Overwatch community because it's the people who play Overwatch, right? So, I don't know, it's a bit weird. But there you go, guys. These, that's me trying to say this and these together. These were interviews conducted with Jeff from the Irvine office, from this Creator Academy thing that they've got set up, which frankly is a bit weird because you never know what's going to happen with this. Like, it pops up and it's like, hey, there's some random streamer streaming from the place, but you don't know what you're going to get. So you have to go out and find like these little bits of information, these bits of VODs and things. And it's a bit weird, right? Anyway, I hope I've compiled this together for you guys and we've made a decent video out of this. It is good when Jeff talks. We like it when Jeff talks because obviously he gives us a lot of insight in the game and he seems to have a lot more freedom with what he can say. He doesn't just sit there and give you 100% PR answers all of the time. Like, he will get into some stuff, which is good, and we do like that because it puts a real face on the game, right? Anyway, guys, I've been Silos. This is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video. Let me know what you think about all of the topics discussed in this video in the comments below, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.